We're 4 days. So now they're saying it's like little to no. Well, if you live in North Carolina, apparently so. So if you buy a house today in Asheville,
it's good.
You're going to get it. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the NBA tries a new All-Star format. Rafael Devers wants to stay at third, and Trevor Lawrence don't want to be a Steeler. But we begin today with the final game now set in the NHL's Four Nations face-off. It will be the United States and Canada, a rematch from last Saturday night when the U.S. won. That punched their ticket. Notice I said punched for those who watched it.
Good job.
Canada got in by beating Finland yesterday. The game will be Thursday night in Boston. Wilbon, what sort of a moment is this for hockey?
It's a kind of a cool thing in that it's a new moment. I mean, so many things in sports are great when they are of tradition. And there's a connection, and it goes back years, if not decades, half century, stuff in baseball. This isn't that. This is just fresh out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's very cool in that way. I guess it can still be organic even though it's new. I don't want to see any punches. If anybody throws a punch on either team, anybody named Kachuk wants to throw a punch, you're out. You're done. It's like the Olympics. Get out. The hockey, the competition, the skill level is great enough. The fervor, the hitting, which there was so much of legitimate, clean hitting in the rest of that game after the fighting. If there's fighting, you're done. But the rest of it, goodness, out of nowhere.
I don't want to get carried away here.
Yeah.
Because this is an invention to prop up a sagging All-Star game. This is an exhibition. And we don't know if they're ever going to have it again. But I watched Saturday night, and I am sure of what I'm going to say now. You and I, we undersold it. Because we sat here on Friday, and both of us said, it doesn't feel like it's going to come up to the level of a Game 7, any Game 7. Yeah. It surpassed every Game 7 except a Stanley Cup final Game 7. In terms of hitting, in terms of passion, when I watched this game and I saw the intense passion that every player out there was using, and drawing from himself. When I saw the Kachucks deliberately get in those fights before they even dropped the puck to open the game, when I saw McDavid get the first goal and then get plastered every time he touched the puck and cleanly, I understood this was special. And so I believe that this game on Thursday night is special.
Already a sequel.
To me, it doesn't get any better than the United States and Canada, first in Montreal and then in Boston. This is all you could want.
Yeah, no.
Right?
Yes, it is. And by the way, if the sequel matches or even approaches what we saw Thursday night, then you have to have it again. You have to have it again now. You can't go back to shirts and skins in an All-Star game. Nobody wants to see that.
No, they want to see this.
Okay.
They want to see you wearing a jersey from your country. It's a big deal.
I can't. You bought in like
I did.
I'm a little more skeptical than you.
I was wrong.
Just because I think that things have to bake for a while. They do. I mean, suppose the sequel doesn't live up, and then you go, all right, it was once.
Okay.
I'm not. By the way, I'm not betting against it. I'm just saying, show me.
I will grant that point. But I'm saying this has been so good that you have to maneuver the schedule. I understand there are Olympics. I understand there are World Cups. I understand all of these things. You have to find room for this because your All-Star game, like other All-Star games, stunk, and this is better.
McAvoy's out Thursday night. One, that could change the tenor of the game given the level of defenseman he is. I mean, you get a 5-1 stinker, clunker, maybe you don't feel that way. And by the way, what happens going forward if he's out for weeks and weeks is
this was the scary thing. This is why players don't really want to have true competition in All-Star games because they could lose a lot of stuff. Let's move. Speaking of All-Star games, let's move to the NBA All-Star weekend. Mac McClung was pulled out of the G League again to win his third straight dunk contest. Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama cheated and were disqualified from the skills contest. Tyler Hero won the shooting contest, and Steph Curry was named MVP of the NBA's new All-Star tournament. Wilbon, what were the highs and lows of the weekend?
I'm going to be particularly critical now because, you know, one of my favorite things in life for about 30 years was All-Star Weekend, the whole thing.
Yeah.
The three-point shooting contest, the dunk contest, the game itself, which had showmanship, but also serious competitive urges. And now it's such junk that they want us to care more as patrons and viewers about their product than they care. That they have to now invent ways to get people to watch because the players themselves, the All-Stars, didn't care enough to play. That's an indictment, okay? So I checked out. I didn't watch 1 second other than Mac McClung. I happened to land in Miami for something I was doing, and I said, let me just turn it on. And Matthew said, Dad, we got to see the dunk contest is still on. I turn on, and McClung's jumping over a car.
Yeah,
and he means more to us because he's a Georgetown
because
kid.
Georgetown, absolutely.
So I that was kind of cool. And the rest of it, Tony, they lost me.
Yeah.
They lost me, and I love professional basketball, and I love all that is attendant to it. By the way, they've lost people like Draymond Green who goes, There are people critical in the industry, all right, a lot more intimately than I am, and they're going, So none of it was a high point to me except McClung.
So as you know, I didn't watch any of it at all.
That's bad.
I was watching the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary specials. I watched them all weekend whenever I could see them. I will say that this held no interest for me. Again, with Matt McClung, we saw him at Georgetown.
Mac McClung.
Mac McClung. But let's be fair here. This is the NBA All-Star Dunk Contest. He's in the G. He's not in the NBA. He's not in the NBA, okay? What you said about Draymond Green apparently said of the NBA games, they're boring. And he said of the All-Star stuff, he says it's ridiculous. That's his word. Yeah. So let's go forward for a second. I think that the NBA has to look at hockey as a model. I think that they have to try something new and they have to have the support of the players. The reason the hockey works is the players are playing passionately. Yeah. NBA players haven't done that in the All-Star game in a long time. No. They have to get rid of what you would call hocus-pocus junk, which is what this is. For many years, you said it should be NBA American players
versus
against
the world.
I'm going to go further. I'm going to take this hockey format. A United States team, a Canadian team, a French team, and a team composed of European and African and Australian players. If you don't have enough current NBA players, use former NBA players or people on the national teams. But we are seeing what it means in hockey. That could, I'm not saying save the NBA, but the NBA players have to want it.
NHL players don't have the worldwide cachet and therefore leverage that NBA players have.
That's right.
And NBA players, as we can see, they do exactly what they want and usually nothing more. And Adam Silver, let's be honest about this. Adam Silver tried to push this a little bit. I've asked him on camera several times on this network about U.S. versus the world. And I know Adam was interested in it. He couldn't sell it. The players don't want to be competitive during their 9-day break. And so, therefore, this is what they get.
That's no good.
And guess what? The public is saying, no, I don't want this.
It's no good. It's no good.
So you know what? They're not desperate enough. Well, and so they won't do it.
The NHL has found a better way.
Yeah.
The NBA could find that better way if they wanted to.
Who they're going to make do it?
3 of the best 10 players in the game didn't even play the All-Star game.
They're going to make guys making $60 million doing it?
No, maybe not.
$70 million soon?
Maybe not.
Let's move to baseball. Angel star Mike Trout will be moving from center field to right in hopes of staying healthier. And Boston's Rafael Devers says he wants to stay at third base despite the team signing Gold Glover Alex Bregman. Tone, which is the bigger news? Trout moving to right field or Devers refusing to yield third to Bregman?
It's not even close.
It's not close.
By far, it is Rafael Devers saying, I am staying at third base.
Yeah.
This can sow tremendous discontent in the Red Sox team. This is potentially a Jimmy Butler situation. Rafael Devers has undercut the authority of the manager, Alex Cora, and he's putting himself in a position where he's saying, you got to cater to me. I'm not going to DH. I'm not playing anywhere else. I'm playing third. They went out and signed, as you said, the reigning Gold Glove third baseman from the American League. That's interesting because Devers is in the American League, where one defensive metric said he was ranked 36th out of 43 third basemen defensively. Now, Alex Bregman could come in and he'd say, it's no problem, I'll play second. Or he could say, no problem, I'll DH. I'll do whatever you want me to do. But if this is allowed to stand and Bregman wants to play third, this is potentially, a disaster.
It is potentially a disaster of what it could do to your room. But that's easily done. That's easily solved, I should say. And they traded Mookie Betts.
You
away
trade
from
him.
the Red Sox
Oh, yeah, you can
for nothing.
You can say, take your
so
refusals,
they can take Devers
go out the
and
door.
say, go away.
Take it
we'll
to
get
Detroit.
something for you.
Yeah,
You know, Devers is a guy who averages like 33 home runs and 105 runs batted in per season. Those are his averages. So you're not talking about a scrub here. So they can work this out, one would think, during the upcoming or now spring training has
Devers
started.
has thrown down the gauntlet, though, hadn't he?
I don't think
Feels
he's
that
throwing
way.
the gauntlet. I don't think he went full Jimmy Butler. I don't think he did that.
But the potential is there.
The potential is there, and that's why the Red Sox need to get ahead of this, because if you're talking about the difference between third basemen, it wasn't just the 1 year in that one metric. I mean, Devers in the last 6 years has ranked toward or at the bottom and when it comes to fielding of all third basemen in the majors.
Let me go back to what you just said.
Not just the AL.
You just said that Red Sox have to get ahead of it. They're not ahead of it.
Oh, no.
They could have gotten ahead of it when they signed Bregman.
They should have thought
They're
this.
way behind it.
While he was choosing between the Cubs, Tigers, and Red Sox, maybe they didn't think they were going to get him.
Just to make it clear so the people at home understand the other part of this, Mike Trout's doing this to not get hurt. Mike Trout's hurt all the time. Allegedly, theoretically, right field is easier to play than center field. Here's a number that will amaze you.
The number
He
of
has
games
played
missed
266 games out of a potential 648 last 4 years.
It's a whisper.
You know what that?
Gonna...
Let's raise our hands. Who that reminds us of? Joel Embiid. He doesn't play Trout. And also, we're not going to know if it works until the middle of the year. We're not going to know, right? We're going to know with Devers.
These two stories are not a great way to start spring training.
Let's take a break. Coming up, should Trevor Lawrence be more open to a trade with the Steelers?
And after knocking off Alabama, is Auburn really the team to beat in men's basketball?
2 weeks ago, if you said to Boston, get ahead of this, it might have mattered, but they're way behind it.
Yeah.
Trying to find out what's stirring the swarm in mail time. I'll get the first one and put on glasses because these things are always typed so small. Here we go. Should Trevor Lawrence be more open to a trade to the Steelers?
This comes up because there was some stuff on the internet somewhere that said that the Steelers were interested in trading for Trevor Lawrence, who then said in response on a podcast yesterday, I'm not interested. I mean, the Steelers are great and Mike Tomlin's great, but we got unfinished business here, and that makes sense to me. I think of Trevor Lawrence as a Southern boy. I mean, he's from Georgia. He went to Clemson.
That's right.
Drafted by Jacksonville.
It's all the same area.
Whenever you see him, he seems pleasantly happy there. I know it hasn't gone as well as quickly as he would like, but I mean, in pro football, teams go from worst to first. We just saw the Washington Commanders do something similar to that. So why can't Trevor Lawrence? I sort of admire that he's not stirring the pot. He's saying, let's do this right here. Let's put the work in. I like that.
I think everything he said was 100% correct for public consumption.
Yeah.
He said, I want to stay here.
No trade clause,
I don't want to go. Right. So he can veto whatever he wants. And yes, I think Jacksonville probably feels like home to him. And yes, they have a brand new coach and they're feeling optimistic. Okay. But I would point out to Trevor Lawrence that Terry Bradshaw had a pretty good run in Pittsburgh. Yeah. Terry Bradshaw from Shreveport, Louisiana, went to Pittsburgh, and how many did he win?
He won 4.
He won 4. I would point out that Ben Roethlisberger had a pretty good run in Pittsburgh. How many did he win? He won 2.
Went to 3.
How many has Trevor Lawrence won so far? 0 would be the correct answer. And this is
Those
a
guys
team
went to 7.
This is a team that's never been to the Super Bowl, and there's only been 59 Super Bowls. So I would just say maybe you want to reconsider privately.
Nailed
That's all. Reconsider.
I like the way he handled his situation.
Me too.
At a time where people are just demanding
Me too.
to get out of where they are.
Me too. Not Jimmy Butler.
No. No. Has Auburn convinced you it's the team to beat in men's college basketball? Auburn.
So let me be clear on this. I am not saying I'm picking them to win the national championship.
Right.
But I am saying that so far, they have earned the right to be separated from everybody else. They are 23-2. Nobody else has a better record than that. Right? They have been in the number 1 spot for X amount of weeks, playing in the toughest conference.
Yeah.
They just went to number 2, Alabama. Won on the road. Won by 9 points. Started out 9-0. 9 at the half, 9 at the end. What more do you want? They have 14 quad one wins. The next highest total is 8. So I'm saying that they have separated themselves.
So far, they have. Look, they're a worthy number one.
Yes.
There's no going against that.
Yes.
You know, I root for Auburn sort of because of our friend Charles Wade Barkley. And that's why I root
Bruce Pearl
for the Auburn
friend
Tigers. And Bruce Pearl, but
that's
Charles,
right. That's right.
for me, primarily.
That's right.
And so it's interesting to see if they can hold on to this. Auburn has popped up. Auburn is not some flapping. They were in the Final Four. That Final Four that Virginia was in, they were in that. So they popped up and been a worthy team recently. I just don't see a great team out there.
Okay.
I don't. So no, favorite to me is when I look at a team that has had a run. Are they like the 2-time Florida champions
No, they're not UConn
like
either. No.
UConn, which is a 2-time
But
defending
nobody's
champ.
like that. But
Wait.
You'd see them number one right now, right?
Yes, that's a
all.
sentence. No one's like that.
Right. But you
So,
would see them number one right now.
Yes, I would.
Right.
Without
Enough email. Let's take one last break. Still to come, some top players have a problem with Yannick Sinner's light punishment for failing steroid tests.
And William Byron, Lord Byron, pulls off an improbable win at Daytona.
The poet of the pits, I think they call him.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I just came up with that. I was an English major.
I heard that somewhere. I read that.
I know how.
I think I read that on page 6.
I know how Lord Byron works. Byron's debt. David Stearns, the president of baseball operations for the Mets. Stearns is in charge of telling owner Steve Cohen how to spend his money. Stearns signed Juan Soto to the biggest contract in baseball history, $765 million over 15 years. But he got Pete Alonso to stay at a bargain price, $54 million over 2 years. He re-signed starter Sean Manaea, outfielder Jesse Winker, signed relievers Clay Holmes and A.J. Minter, and starter Frankie Montas. Stearns went to Harvard with Pablo Torre, majored in political science and wrote sports for the Harvard Crimson.
You're here.
Then he interned with the Pittsburgh Pirates, was assistant GM with the Astros and GM of the Brewers. It feels like Stearns studied the road taken by Theo Epstein.
Okay, yeah, but he's like 3 rings short of Epstein at this moment.
Sure.
Epstein's got 3, right? And responsible for 4, probably.
Sure.
The thing
Responsible for the health of baseball.
he is.
Yeah.
His boss, Stearns' boss, says today, apparently yesterday, it's playoffs or bust. That's the minimum daily requirement now with the Mets spending that much money. Got to get it right.
Happy anniversary, Alvin Robertson. On this day 39 years ago, the Spurs guard recorded the second ever quadruple double in NBA history. Robertson had 20 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 steals in a win over Phoenix. Nate Thurman first accomplished this feat in 1974 in his first game ever with the Chicago Bulls. There are only 4 quad doubles ever. 3 of them took place in Texas. Houston's Akeem Olajuwon had one in 1990. David Robinson of the Spurs had one in 1994. Everybody starts out with points and rebounds, but then there's assists, steals, and for big men, blocks. Nikola Jokic, ton of triples, but career highs of only 7 steals and 5 blocks. Russell Westbrook, 8 steals, 5 blocks. I'm betting on Wembanyama.
Ooh, I think Wembanyama will be the guy.
Yeah.
By the way, Alvin Robertson, the toughest guy in the Valley. From my time, the previous generation, if you said you got to take one guy in the alley with you and fear no evil, who would that guy be? Alvin Robertson.
Happy trails, Yannick Sinner, the world's #1 ranked player, has accepted a 3-month suspension to settle the doping case against him. Sinner tested positive for steroid twice in 8 days last year. He says he absorbed it when a trainer treated his own finger cut with a banned substance and then massaged Sinner. The timing conveniently allows the Australian Open champ to play in the next Grand Slam event, the French Open. Novak Djokovic said the settlement feels like favoritism. Nick Kyrgios called it a sad day for tennis. Stan Wawrinka said, I don't believe in a clean sport anymore.
Wow.
Look, you can choose to believe Sinner didn't do this intentionally, but the explanation he has given feels non-credible.
Here's my problem. I don't know whether this is this creatine or andro? Which is it? Is there a discernible advantage you gain from doing this? But I will say this, for those guys to come out like that on the record, that's strong. That sways me a little bit. It does.
Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Your pal William Byron won his second straight Daytona 500 after a final lap crash. Your thoughts?
Went from 9th to 1. I know there were people falling out because of the crash. 9th to 1, the final lap is still pretty impressive. Draymond says the Dubs will win the title this year. Your reaction?
I love Draymond Green. I will take the under on this. I will bet against Draymond Green on this one. Your Cubs agreed to a one-year deal with Justin Turner. Is that significant?
He can DH. He can play third and first backup. He's a great locker room guy, but he's 40. Okay, I'm happy to have him. We got expectations this year. Women's college hoops. Notre Dame beat Duke. UConn crushed South Carolina. The bigger deal was...
Oh, it's UConn. It's at South Carolina.
Wow.
They had won 71
Beat them by like
in a
29.
row at home. They killed them.
Kill job.
Oh, wow.
Kill job.
Last one, Vandy's Michaela Blakes scored 55 in an overtime win over Auburn. You impressed?
Yeah, how about that coming on the heels of scoring 53 at the end of January? We got to start paying more attention to Miss Blakes.
We're out of time. Try and do better the next time. I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the podcast on the app or Apple Podcasts. I don't want to offend Charles Oakley, our dear friend Charles Oakley. Toughness. So I'm going to put Robertson right there, but Charles, he's there too.
My bonus topic.
All right, Wilbon. What does the popularity of the Four Nations face-off tell you?
First of all, Tony, I'm a little bit surprised. I'm impressed. You have to be. 10 million people across the United States and Canada watched on Saturday night. That's a great number, period. I don't care.
Yeah.
And so people are interested in this kind of face-off, pun intended, between these two. They got a little lucky. If this is Sweden versus Finland, they're not getting that. And you're not getting the buzz, and you're not getting any of this.
Well, the game they had already was baked into it. They have to play each other in a round robin.
They had already won, and they sort of, it rallied, and then you get the rematch, the sequel.
Yeah.
It's all breaking correctly.
Yes.
So that tells me something, too. But I think international play or perceived international play is the way to go, which is why I've been screaming for the NBA to have some guts and put a United States versus the world game on instead of the bogus all-star game. It is now trying to obscure with all these theatrics and a variety show, which doesn't work either. So the NHL has gotten it right.
The NHL found the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Maybe they intended for this to happen. Maybe they got lucky. Maybe it's a combination of both. But they found the sweet spot. 5.5 people in the United States, 5.5 million people in the United States watch this. That's essentially the equivalent of a Game 7 in the Stanley Cup final. And this is an invention. It's an exhibition game. It doesn't mean anything, and that many people watched it. So you are right in saying that what it tells us is the NBA ought to be paying attention to this. Because the NBA has a bad product on All-Star Weekend. I would go further than you would go. I would pay attention to hockey. I would have 4 teams, national teams, the United States, Canada, France, and a combination of Europe, Africa, and Australia. I would put that out there because it is a more global sport than hockey by a large distance. And I would try and incorporate
identifiable stars.
And I would do this.
Yeah.
I would do this. And once you do it and it works, you're never going back to what you had before.
Or you could do it for years and years.
Yeah.
And you see what's coming down the pike.
Yeah.
They're not doing it. Been challenging to do that for years. That's it. We're done. Back to you.